It's funny. It only takes one glance at Andy Farrell to learn virtually everything you need to know about him. No nonsense grafter, watches a lot of rugby league, lets his wife buy his suits for him, probably loves Bovril, and even if he doesn't, he'll still show more affection than his son. And yeah, after watching a full 80 minutes of his new team playing, I still can't work out anything about them. Scotland pushed Andy Farrell's Ireland pretty much to the edge, coming as close as they can to beating them without ever really looking like winning. So what did we learn about either side, and where does it place them with 4 games left to go in the tournament? It feels as though Farrell's Ireland are yet to assume any sense of identity, but what hints we did get are obvious through their absence. On several occasions on Saturday, an Irish player did something that you just know would have made Joe Schmidt scream so loud you could hear it from, I was going to say New Zealand, but Spain, where he apparently currently is. Schmidt's approach was to drill players until their wildest rugby instinct was still to follow his blueprint. His game plan was worked out based on percentages, the closest thing we've seen to Moneyball rugby, and whilst his parenting wouldn't suggest it, Farrell seems like a far lighter, warmer boss than Beautiful Joe. The offload ban was lifted, and whilst he likely gave them a bollocking for the outcome here, Farrell isn't against Conway and Lama trying to run from deep. This is an extremely low percentage play, but Farrell appears to be far more trusting in players to make their own judgment calls. If they feel it's on, have a go, but be ready and prepared to face the consequences if it's not. Schmidt only ever gave this kind of license to Jackanory's ex-pony, who was in many ways his golden pony. To get his pun, because as I said, his name is Sex Onion, and it's like pony. It's like, never mind. So it'll be interesting to see if Ireland continue running these risks going forward. And speaking of Django Fett's Lex Loop, he kicked off the scoring for Ireland with this very nicely worked try. Ireland take one very Schmidt risk and kick for the corner from a lossable penalty. They work through the phases nicely until Hamish Watson becomes a bit too eager to grind some Irish ankles and add them to his collection, so steps offside. Conor Murray points at it and screams, offside.
On red alert.
At pretty much the same moment, the referee says the same thing and puts out his arm. Instantly, Murray decides this is the time to go. He turns to Junebug's X mark and calls a move. It's then actually quite simple. We see this kind of setup all the time. A forward grabs the ball as though they're going to pick and go. In this case, it's James Ryan. And then they pop it instead to another forward to carry. Except the second carry here is the dummy. Healy spins round, having committed both the Scottish forwards, and passes to Murray. This out the back forces the Scottish backs to come into play without warning. There's no time for defensive captain Johnson to see the ball leave the ruck and call how they cover this. So, Hastings steps in on Murray, and Johnson, being an excellent defender, thinks he's read the play and comes in on Jordan Lama, who's running a pretty excellent line to split the pair. Johnson steps in, but the ball instead goes to Sex Trousers, who has Ringrose on his outside as well, just in case an extra defender steps in. It's a simple piece of deception, but this try was made by these two dummy runners, and if you want to know how clear that is, have a look at the last time Ireland tried this against Japan in the World Cup. It's essentially exactly the same move, but it's completely ineffectual because the key dummy runner, Gary Ringrose in this case, starts off in front of Carberry. By the time the ball has left Murray's hands, the defence knows it isn't going to him, and therefore they can focus on Carberry. Carney leaves his line too late, meaning he isn't a realistic support option in the same way Ringrose was against Scotland. Crucially as well, Murray called it very late on Saturday, whereas against Japan, he was nattering and chatting with Carberry the entire time. And just watch pocket-sized legend Fumi Tanaka. He's watching them talk, pointing to Carberry the entire time, and just before the ball comes out, he's calling on his defence on the other side to watch the exact line Carberry's about to run. By only calling it once advantage is given, Murray negates this and only gives Scotland a second to get up and try and hit jumbo-sized Sex Glass before he crosses for the score. However, Jonestown Sex Mustard wasn't the only new captain to cross the try line, but he was kind of the only one who actually scored a try. It's really lovely hands by Blair Kinghorn, and it should put Hogg in the corner to just start to... Oh no. Now, I want to stand up for Stuart Hogg for a second here, because putting the rugby ball down directly in front of you whilst running and upright is a surprisingly difficult skill, and despite common wisdom, the way Hogg tries to dot down is actually more difficult with two hands. Instead of just slamming or placing the thing down comfortably, you don't tend to grip the ball as hard subconsciously when it's in two hands, because it just kind of rests between them, and so when you change the angle you're holding it at in order to put it down, it's all too easy to just let the thing slip out, as you're holding the egg between rather than with your hands. The only reason we don't see this more often in pro rugby is because 9 players out of 10 would slide in here, and there's a reason for that. It's not just look stylish, and it's the reason Stuart Hogg just gave us here. The popular thing to do is become to blame Hogg for the loss, and whilst I think to some degree that's fair, it isn't for this dropped ball. It's for what he did next. Hogg drops the ball, Matthew Reynolds calls the play back because Scotland had been playing on a penalty advantage, and Captain Hogg opts for the posts. This is where I feel Hogg's inexperience as captain comes in. Even after the shot is nailed, Hogg is still beating himself up over the drop ball. It's a hugely emotional moment, and he's in no place to make a call this big. However, eager to impress on his first game as captain, Hogg makes the decision himself. It's not a sign of weakness as a leader in any walk of life to stop and discuss it with other senior players, with those around you. But instead, even with his head all over the place after such a mistake, Hogg makes a call that feels kinda defeatist. Scotland had Ireland on the ropes at scrum time. They needed to try to draw level and have just shown they know how to open Ireland up. This is their best opportunity of the entire game, and a perfect chance to put the howler Hogg just made to bed. I've made the point before that sometimes taking a shot is more about backing yourself to get downfield and score again than resigning yourself to 3, not 7, but this didn't feel like it. This felt like Scotland conceding that they won't cross the line, and even if they do, it would just be even more embarrassing than otherwise. The drop ball is something Hogg is going to remember, but what he did in the aftermath is what he needs to learn from. Because up until then, Scotland has had a few really promising passages. Things started extremely well. From their first 18 phases with the ball, Scotland crossed the gain line 17 times. And Townsend's game plan begins to really open up once the side gets going forward. Look at this lovely inside ball to Sam Johnson. With Ireland already backtracking, Scotland put a big carrier to draw eyes, then throw it further in field to let Johnson slide right through. The more ground Scotland are able to make, the more inventive they become, and the more they look like scoring. However, in a wonderful little paradox, the closer they got to the line, the more conservative they became, getting inside 10-15 metres and suddenly playing simple one-up runners rather than anything ambitious once the stakes got higher. Scotland wouldn't pull a set move like the one Ireland scored off. Once they get to the line, they seem more scared of losing the ball than actually interested in scoring. There's very little purpose about them, which is frustrating considering how much of it we saw in the other 90 metres of the pitch. It's almost like 25 metres out is Scotland's optimum attack range. Close enough to the line for it to be a realistic chance, but far enough away that they don't feel a pressure to score. Because much as they misfired in Paris, Scotland are going to need to accumulate some serious points if they want to overcome England. Well, either that or they'll scrape it in a 9-6 thriller that no sober man except me will enjoy. Ireland, meanwhile, face their old rivals Wales in another chance for Andy Farrell's team to show us what kind of side they truly are.
Hello. Thank you for watching that. Apologies I couldn't get it before Ireland played. Obviously today they're about to kick off in a few hours. As I'm doing this and recording this, you may think the fact I'm in a strangely residential area. It's Twickenham. It's not. I'm nearing my mum's house. So yeah, it's obviously there's another round kicking off today. I'll be moving on to those as quickly as possible. Thanks to everyone involved in the Super Fruit League. I haven't actually checked how it's going, but I seem to do okay because I had Josh Adams in my team last week. If you want to get involved, there's a link all in the description and that. Otherwise, I'm going to head back, watch the next game, finish the video you're currently watching the end of, and then get on with the next round. It was difficult to get 4 videos out in 5 days. I apologise. Frankly, there's a break week next week, so I can get through them and get them done before the next round. Anyway, see you then. Bye.